right, guys, welcome. I'm here joined by the Cryptic Studios team.
My name is Jack Emmert. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of the company.
I'm Randy Mossens. I'm the creative director on Neverwinter.
I'm Thomas Maroney. I'm the executive producer for Star Trek Online.
Since we're at the beginning of this video, let's get right into the juice.
I'd like to welcome back all the people who've played the game and invite them to stay so that together we can cooperatively take these games wherever we want.
Just a fun time for everyone to come out and play the game together.
Wow. Okay, so I feel like I just got a very quick crash course on Star Trek. That was fantastic.
Right.
Yeah. What is your personal opinion on the current state of MMOs?
I would say in North America and Europe, it's grim.
The Riot MMO, no matter how good it is, it's going to disappoint a lot of people. When it comes to the cosmetics, I've spoken with Ghostcrawler and other game directors. They've told us monetizing an MMO strictly based off of cosmetics is sustainable. Would you agree with that, or is that not really the case?
I'm sorry, is or isn't sustainable?
Is sustainable.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Confirmed plans or anything that you could say officially, like maybe a timeline?
What an idea. I'm gonna write that down. Let me tell you, I am completely blindsided.
All right, guys, welcome. I'm here joined by the Cryptic Studios team. We've got a nice little interview going. We've got some big news going on when it comes to a couple of their titles, specifically Neverwinter and Star Trek. I'm joined here by the team, and I wanted to give you guys a very quick introduction. If you guys could tell the audience to the Twitch chat, as well as people watching at home on YouTube, who you guys are.
My name is Jack Emmert. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of the company.
Perfect. What about maybe on the bottom left there?
Yeah, so I'm Randy Mossens. I'm the creative director on Neverwinter.
Perfect.
Nice. And Randy, that's the first time I've ever heard your last name pronounced. In
People wonder.
Yeah. I'm Thomas Maroney. I'm the executive producer for Star Trek Online.
Okay, so let's dive right into this. So let's start with you. A little bit of I know we just did some introductions, but Jack, you were my understanding is you used to be the CEO, the guy running it, and then you stepped back, and then you've re-entered recently. Reassuming your role.
I left. I guess technically I stopped being CEO in December of 2015, and then I just took the job back up in January.
Okay, so how's that experience been? I'd imagine pretty busy.
Yeah. I mean, it's the team is dramatically different. There's been a lot added to the games. The company's been through a lot of ups and downs since I've been gone. But the best thing about the games has always been the players, and we still have them and plenty of them. And one of the things that I did as soon as I started back was play the games again, both Neverwinter and Star Trek. And this is what led me to want to share with the community this opportunity to re-engage with these games, but try to create a more simplified path so that they felt like they could join in the fun stuff quickly, which you were in fact just noting not but 10 minutes ago, where, hey, it's like we're giving out months of grinding for free. Mm-hmm. So you're avoiding a lot of the, especially older content that we did, and you're engaging in more recent and more interesting content, I think, with the free characters.
Right. And I definitely want to talk to you guys about these events, especially that event that's going on. But you said you revisited both Star Trek and Neverwinter.
Yes.
What did you think of the games, like the current state of the games when you played it? Did you feel like, oh man, this is not actually in a very good state, or were you thinking, oh, this is not too far off, or this is a banger? What were you thinking?
Well, I think candidly, some things were changed for reasons that I might have understood, but I think were a mistake. A lot was added, so the games are a lot more complex than they were. So we're definitely going to be working on that and trying to let new players or returning players teach them about the game when they get in, so that they're not overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that they need to do or figure out. God bless Aragorn and the others
Oh,
with
Aragon,
their
yeah, he's
how-to
great.
videos.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and because that's what I used. But ideally, we don't have to depend on that. So, and there are a lot of systems that once got attention that kind of have fallen by the wayside, that perhaps we can reinvigorate. So there's look, the great thing about these games is it just never ends, and that we can always add to it depending upon what the players want. So this is step one, re-engagement. So, this is the first thing I wanted to do starting in January, and now it's coming to fruition. And I'd like to welcome back all the people who've played the game and invite them to stay so that together we can cooperatively take these games wherever we want.
Since we're at the beginning of this video, let's get right into the juice. Essentially, there are big updates coming, and we'll, while we're on the topic of Neverwinter, just because I guess you're on the left side, let's talk about the big update happening with Neverwinter. What is this? Brand new player coming in. I had some people asking my chat already, is Neverwinter trying to make a comeback? Some people are even asking, like, what is Neverwinter? Some of the newer gamers, right? What is happening in a nutshell with Neverwinter right now?
So I just before Randy talks, we're doing this across all of our games. Star Trek and Champions Online, you can get in. You will get a character, a free character that is high level, that you could just step right in and have a curated experience right off the bat, so that you don't feel like you're totally lost or overwhelmed, so that you could just get in and play more modern content. With that, Randy, take it away.
Yeah. Yeah, so Neverwinter Quick Start is live now. You can jump in and get a high level character. There's 3 classes you can choose from, and it allows you just everything is fully geared on the characters. So they've got all the equipment slots, all the mount, everything, companions, etc. So you could just come in and play. There's no gearing up needed, and that's one of the intimidating factors, right? That sometimes when you come back to a game after a long while, a lot of systems change, like a lot of mechanics will have changed out. This allows you to just come in and play right away, right? And which is great if you just want to check out and like a lot of the core stuff, the action gameplay, action combat and everything is there, and it's just fun to play through, right? And I believe it kind of puts you right in the middle of some of the Minzo Branson, Ari Salvatore content. So there's a lot of good stories you could pick up from there. Really well written, and so you can just have fun and enjoy the storylines there. But there's still a bit of ramp up time, so you can get into like the older content. So there's a lot to it that you can come into and explore in the game.
So
I just want to
yeah.
add a little tidbit there for everybody out there. So Cryptic had Zeb Cook, who was one of the developers behind Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition, and he told us a story about Menzo Berenzin and the Drow. So when the Drow were first created internally, and these are the Dark Elves of D&D, they were called Dro. They pronounced it Dro. But everybody outside of the company, TSR back then, called it Drow. And that's what stuck. But originally, they were supposed to be called Dro. There you go.
Interesting. If you play any game and you boost to the end game, it's overwhelming, right? It's like all of a sudden you're looking at these systems that are pre-built and you're like, what is this? Why is this? And you don't understand, right? Jackie, I think you mentioned earlier about like a more streamlined system maybe to help new players to understand. It does say, when I checked in game, it's recommended, like you have to level manually from 1 to 16, which probably for most gamers, a few days, couple of days. So it's really not a long grind. That'll definitely help alleviate some of that overwhelmingness because you get a little bit more acclimated to the game. But still, I would imagine it would still be kind of overwhelming. What systems do you guys have in place so that a new player can hit 16, boost the character through the event, and not be overwhelmed?
Well, part of the whole the leveling system and everything is kind of you learn how to do the training grounds, right? And the training system has a pretty good structure to it, where you can go through and if you want to test certain types of attacks or defenses or basically class mechanics and everything, that exists there for players to mess around with, and it's relatively like it's a safe environment, right? You can just go there, do whatever types of things you want to do, and it allows you to try it. And so I think that's a good method for players to go back regardless of level, even if they haven't been back in a while and they forget how certain mechanics work. Go to the training grounds and test things again.
Yeah, and primarily, the first target was to win back players that had played the game previously,
Okay.
and to re-engage with them, and enabling them to kind of boost up to a higher level without feeling the need to kind of grind through things. And then secondarily, of course, the new players. But your point is well taken. We will have a special event at some point, primarily for new players.
What else? Because it feels like there's more juice than just that's happening here, right? For Neverwinter still.
We've still been working in the background on a whole bunch of new content. We like our regular cadence of delivering new zones, new storylines, new characters, and of course new gear progression. And so we've been doing all of that in the background as well. So we want to keep on doing that. It's something that our fan base looks for, and we want to provide with on a regular basis.
Gotcha. So
Yeah, and
sorry, go
I
ahead.
think hey, Randy, can you mention the roadmap? Because for the first
yeah.
time, I think one of the initiatives that I wanted to start is give 6-month roadmaps. So provide people with an idea of what's coming up in the near future for all of our games so that they know, they can get excited about it. As someone who plays a whole lot of miniatures games, I know that I get thrilled when Games Workshop previews what's coming up. And so what I want to do is something similar across our games. And this was something I also, when I lurked in our various Discord channels for our games, people had no idea when things were coming up. It was a bit of a mystery. So Randy, why don't you talk about what's coming up?
Yeah, so we have a whole bunch coming up. I was just trying to reference the roadmap right now, but we have a new zone coming up that is we can't really mention too much right now, other than like wear a heavy coat, and because that's going to be a place where you're gonna have to be prepared to deal with a lot of the chill. I think Jack is looking at the roadmap right now.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, if you take a look at the screenshot, that'll give you somewhat of a clue.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
it up right now. For those of you watching on
Perfect.
YouTube, I'm gonna link it in the Twitch chat. I just don't want to cover the camera because we can just
You bet.
in post, right? So my editor will have this for those of you watching on YouTube. You guys should be able to see the roadmap right now. Yeah, I see. April 21st through May 21st is the quick start event, and then M33, as I understand it, Neverwinter's major updates are in the form of, you guys label it as modules, Dungeons and Dragons modules,
Yep.
and
Go back.
module 33 is the next big. By the way, as a non-Dungeons and Dragons guy, that confused the hell out of me when I played the game. People are talking about module 32. I'm like, is that like a quest line or something? Like, I didn't know. So yeah, module 33, M33, Adventure Zone, Dungeon, Heroic Encounters, and more. And then some kind of Protectors Jubilee and Summer Festival events. Could you maybe talk
That's
about
right.
that?
Yeah, we have regular seasonal events that happen. The summer festival is pretty fun. Like we essentially have a dedicated set map that you can go to and enjoy the summer festivities. Right, there are like water balloons that fights that are happening, and of course trolls attacking the picnic because they're attracted by the smells coming in, and just all kinds of like fun activities you can do to get special rewards that are just for the summer festival. And the Protectors Jubilee is another big celebration. It's meant to be kind of celebrate well, the prosperity of Neverwinter, right? And so that's a big thing that happens in Protector's Enclave. A lot of festivities again happening there. A lot of things to chase, special rewards to get. And every time we have these seasonal events, we have new things for players to like collect as part of the events. So it's just a fun time for everyone to come out and play the game together.
Great. Awesome. And that's so far everything that's been officially announced, right? On the roadmap. I know beyond that it says dungeon revamp, inventory improvements, and class improvements. I feel like those kind of go without saying. Is that pretty much what's in front of us that we know?
Yes. Well,
Officially.
we've got a lot in the
Sure,
officially.
yeah,
We got a lot
officially,
in the
yeah.
background.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
We because like that's one of the constant things we're always looking at is we get a lot of feedback from the fans, and we want to try and do updates based on the kind of things they're looking at. Class rebalancing is always a thing. Like as whenever we introduce make any type of revisions, it takes a bit of time for everything to kind of distill out through the fan base and figure out it's like, hey, I found these great combinations. This is working better.
Right.
Oh, this is still isn't up to par. So we try to keep on rebalancing it. So we cycle through the different classes at any given time and try to make sure they're play on par with each other.
Let's talk a little bit about what's happening with Star Trek. So Star Trek also, I believe, according to Jack, is also doing this quick start event where players can essentially get to the start of Endgame as well.
Right. So, are you a big Star Trek fan, by the way, or
I'll
how
be
familiar
honest,
you are with the shows?
no.
No. Okay.
Okay. So
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, just so I've never been the biggest sci-fi guy, but growing up, I did like Star Wars, but just as a movie, right? Like I've played SOTOR, and I think they've done a fantastic job with the questing, but I never, to be honest, it wasn't until that I talked to your team about this interview, I completely forgot Star Trek was even an MMO that was out there.
Oh, man.
I apologize. Like, I'm not trying to be like,
No.
I didn't
No,
know.
it's great. No, I'm excited.
Yeah.
To talk to you
Then
about
I'm glad
Star
we're
Trek.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this is kind of like a great audience because a lot of people that follow me,
Yeah.
I do a lot of I cover a lot of different MMOs and a lot of different MMO communities, especially in the Asia scene. Obviously, the Star Trek IP is like one of the most successful, franchises out there, and there would be a ton of people that would be interested in playing in the MMO. I just don't know anything about your game. That's the problem.
Right.
So yeah, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the game, and what you got going on for it.
Yeah, no, this is great. So Star Trek Online is what I kind of like to call a Star Trek theme park, where you have different. So Star Trek as a franchise is celebrating its 60th years this year in 2026. It started in 1966 with Star Trek, the original series, right? That's Captain Kirk, Spock, William Shatner, and Leonard Nimoy, those legends, right? And so throughout all those decades, there's been lots of new Star Trek over the years. First there was the animated series was the first spin-off, and then Star Trek Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Voyager, right? All those TV shows. I think we're at like 10 different TV shows. We're at 13 or 14 movies. We've got so much Star Trek out there, lots of comics, lots of novels, and obviously lots of Star Trek video games. So what's awesome about Star Trek Online is that we touch all of it. Every version of Star Trek has a presence in our game. And I'm really proud of that as somebody who's worked on the game for the last basically 16 years, almost the entire time the game's been running. I started out, as a lowly UI icon artist, and now I'm executive producer, and it's been great to grow with the game.
Congratulations.
And so thank you, but yeah, and it's it's been great to see the passion for the game in our community, and to be able to manifest all the wonderful things as the franchise has changed, as Star Trek has, we with Discovery, with Strange New Worlds, all these amazing shows that they've added recently, we've also been putting them into Star Trek Online. So when I say that it's like a theme park, it's because you can go, if you love the original series, you can make a character that's like based on that classic 60s Star Trek aesthetic and play that experience, right? If you love Star Trek Voyager, you can go to the Delta Quadrant and interact with all these amazing characters voiced by their original actors. By the way, we've got over 47 actors who have come to reprise their roles from the TV shows. They're doing the actual voices for the real characters in the
Wow.
game, which is another thing I'm really proud of, right? So if you're a Star Trek fan, it's kind of a one-stop shop for everything Star Trek. And we also, even classic Star Trek video games and comics, we've got references to lots of wonderful things in that game. So it's for people who are really deep into it, it's a great place to just be immersed and experience that universe in sort of any which way you want to. The quick start event we're doing, we have a kind of like what Neverwinter did, where we have a character you can make that's an end game character. It's already pre-geared. It's already got a starship. It's already got what we call bridge officers, which are your crew that kind of run around with you. In terms of gameplay, just really quick, I'll kind of go over what makes Star Trek a little different than something like Neverwinter. Neverwinter, you have your character, right? With Star Trek, your character is actually several different things all at once. Your character is your captain, and then their crew, and then your starship. And
Gotcha.
so, like on the TV show, there are adventures on the ground, and there are adventures in space when you're flying around your ship and you're blowing up bad guys in their ships and stuff. And the starship gameplay, I think, is where Star Trek really shines and what makes it very different from a lot of other MMOs. It's not just tab targeting, pressing buttons and stuff. You actually have to maneuver your ship, and your direction, your shield facing matters, your power levels matter. It's a lot more strategic gameplay for people who are interested in kind of sci-fi starship combat. Even if you're not super familiar with the Star Trek as an IP or as a franchise, I think still has a lot to offer gameplay wise that make it a really unique, cool MMO. So back to the quick start event. So we're doing a quick start character. It's got all that stuff I mentioned, your bridge officer, cruise ship, all that's geared out. It's ready to go. It's set in a very popular, beloved framework for the story, which is all about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is for people who love prestige television like Game of Thrones, the very long form story arcs. DS9, a lot of people don't know this, was one of the shows that pioneered that format in the 90s. They were making, so a lot of TV up to that point had been serialized, where it's like each episode is a different story, right? Well, Star Trek DS9 was one of the first shows to actually have a story that ran through the course of the whole show, right? Where each episode, advanced the plot. So we, for this content that you're starting your Jemadar in, that's a character from Star Trek DS9. That's your end level character. He's kind of a big burly warrior bred for battle. And the whole story is about kind of deconstructing your place in the universe. And you're a genetically engineered super soldier, but you're kind of coming to terms with that in a galaxy that's much bigger than you thought it was. And so there's a lot of, another great thing about Star Trek is it's a little philosophical, right? You're asking big questions. I mean, that's a really important part of science fiction. And so we try to do that with our stories too, amongst all the, the weapons fire and the MMO combat.
Wow. Okay. So I feel like I just got a very quick crash course on Star Trek. That was fantastic.
Right.
I'm looking at the roadmap here while I'm listening to you, and let's just say there's a lot more text on the Star Trek roadmap. I'm going to go ahead and wait, actually I don't have a link. If someone can pull a link for the Star Trek roadmap, that would be great. You guys did publish it, right? The Star Trek one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's on
there.
our.
You can, we'll just blame the executive producer of Neverwinter for that. He's more secretive, I guess.
Yeah, so if you guys want to check that out, or if I can get a mod to look that up and post it, there's definitely more text on the Star Trek roadmap than there was on the Neverwinter roadmap. And again, as someone that hasn't played this game yet, there's I don't know what a lot of these things are, like the Orion Orchid class starship. And when you were mentioning you're talking about like battling on spaceships, is the combat in Star Trek, is it more like spaceship fighting, kind of like Eve, or I mean, obviously I'm sure it plays way differently to Eve, but like, are you controlling your ship?
Yeah.
And that's how it's done?
Right. Yeah, so there's space combat and ground combat. So there's
Gotcha.
both. So there's a So I mentioned your bridge officers, right? So when you
Yeah.
beam down to a planet, you have a whole crew. Everybody is a summoner class in Star Trek. Everybody has, we call them pets, internally. That's our sort of jargon for them. But they're your bridge officers, and they follow you around, and they attack enemies, and they heal you, and they support you, and then they have their own abilities on the ground. But yes, in space, you are controlling your starship, and it is starship combat, and it is a very, and then your ship also has its own abilities. I mentioned power levels before, so you can if anybody does watch the show, who's familiar with the show, they'll know all power to shields, all power to weapons, right?
Right.
You can do that in STO, right? It's that fantasy of having all that control over your starship, and that actually does matter. It really changes how combat plays out depending on how you manage all those systems. And then different types of weapons. Your ship has phasers and torpedoes, and those behave differently. So there are a lot of these different systems interact in, again, a more strategic way than I think traditional MMO targeting combat.
Gotcha. Sounds very interesting. So, obviously, big juice here with the new player boosting event, with Star Trek as well. Is there anything else, like if you had an opportunity to quickly tell someone that was completely oblivious to Star Trek, hey, Star Trek MMO, the Star Trek MMO, we've got a new player boosting event. Plus, is there another thing that you'd want to add to that to let people know, hey, come check us out?
Look, the one thing, if you're going to play Star Trek, you've got to play the featured episodes, because you're going to get into the featured episode and you can play them solo. They are like an episode of Star Trek, and there's no way to be able to describe it. They include more than just combat, and you interact with not only known races and known species and locations, but as was said, we hire actors and actresses from the series to participate in Star Trek Online. And I really can't recommend it enough. The current storyline is really good because, well, Thomas, do you want to explain the situation with the Borg and what you're encountering with the Chimera?
Yeah. So we're doing, I mean, one of the great things that's really fun about Star Trek Online is that, and this is, especially for people who follow the threads of the franchise for a long time, is that we take little things. So when you have a story as big as Star Trek, a universe as big as Star Trek, there are lots of little threads that get dropped along the way, right? So it's like this villain shows up in this episode, and it seems like they're going to be a big deal, but then you never hear from them again, right? Because of whatever reason. So one of the things we have a lot of fun with in STO is we look for all those dangling threads, and then we start tying them together so that you can. So we have in our current story arc this it's almost like a multiverse of madness, right? Where you have these aliens from different alternate parallel dimensions coming together and fighting over our dimension, and we're stuck in the middle. And so for Star Trek, the biggest, baddest enemy is the Borg. They're cybernetic zombies. And in our game, we use the whole multiverse trope to come up with different versions of the Borg that are very different from each other, but still just as threatening. And there's a ton of great lore baked into that. There's a ton of great stuff that pulled from the shows, like protomatter from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, infects one of these kinds of Borg and turns them into even more dangerous, like what we call fast zombies, and so it's just this it's just really fun to distill and combine and be really creative with all these things people love about Star Trek, all these aliens and these story concepts, and just mix them up in new ways, but also sort of try to bring order to some of the chaos of 60 years of storytelling.
Follow-up question on that. So if I were to play as a brand new player, never played it before, for me to really appreciate what's happening in the current arcs, would it be best or recommended or required to play all the previous arcs or episodes or whatever you would label it as? Or can I just get right into the current content and it's kind of its own episode?
Well, I mean, that one of the great things about Star Trek Online is that there are a lot of different ways to start the game and a lot of different ways to enjoy the game. The easiest way right now is our quick start event. So you make that Jemadar character, everything's geared up, it's ready to go. If you're really comfortable with MMOs, I think that's a great way to start, and then you have a great storyline you can dive right into. But for people who are, again, if you're really into like the original series, then you can make a new character based in that era. If you like some of the new shows like Star Trek Discovery or Star Trek Strange New Worlds, you can make a character in that era, and then it's all wrapped into those storylines and those characters. And we've hired a lot of characters from Star Trek Discovery, for example, and so you can play that line. So it really is, think of it like a theme park, right? You go to a theme park and you're like, I love this, I love Thunder Mountain, or I love I'm blanking on my Disney rides, but Smuggler's Run, right, at Galaxy's Edge, right, and you just go straight to that ride, right? Star Trek Online is set up so that you can do that with whatever cool thing you want to do. If you don't know, I say just start with a quick start character and just hit the ground running with that guy.
I do have a question for I guess both games, and well, 3 I guess with Champions. What is it that you guys are doing with both of your titles other than the quick start event, which is great, to try and bring in new players? Is that like a major focus right now, or are you focusing on the current player base? I would like to just get your thoughts on your guys' approach right now with trying to bring in new audiences.
So really our number one goal this year is going to be re-engaging with people who played the game. Because both of these, all of our games are free-to-play games, we have millions of former players, millions. And just re-engaging with them, communicating with them, and getting them back into the game, because at one point they loved it. And they might have dropped out for any number of reasons. But the most important thing is to give them a reason to come back, give them a reason to keep playing, and work on developing that community. Then I do have plans for new players, but that is probably the next priority. Right now, this year, the focus is re-engagement and growth.
Re-engagement and growth. Gotcha. Yeah. What is your personal opinion on the current state of MMOs?
In globally or in the West, or where do you mean?
I guess both globally and in the West. Yeah.
Well, globally, really the only sign of life is in Asia for PC, even though the majority of their MMOs are now mobile. I would say in North America and Europe, it's grim. You have pre-existing MMOs, and that's about all she wrote. Anything that is getting under development, for the most part, are small independent ventures, or something perhaps that manages to raise money in an untraditional manner. But we all know that the publishers, the big publishers in North America and Europe, are not going to be underwriting MMOs anytime in the near future. And I would even say live service games, period, will be rarer as we move forward.
Why do you think it's come to that in the West? Why is it looking grim?
Well, that's easy. Yeah, sure. So what happened was, before World of Warcraft, there were a number of thriving games that launched. City of Heroes, Dark Age of Camelot, and Second Life. It wasn't a game, but still, it was an online product. But after World of Warcraft, the goal was to create a game that was its equal. No longer was it identifying a good game idea. It now had a financial goal. Like, how are we going to make $1 billion? So for the most part, major publishers began chasing that goal. But in order to do that, they felt that they had to spend a lot of money to be able to compete with the size of World of Warcraft. And so the teams got really enormous. Another challenge. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
You're about to have 250 people come visit you for an ice cream social, right?
Okay.
You can order one flavor of ice cream.
Yeah.
What are you ordering?
Mint chocolate chip.
Yeah, right. You're going to order vanilla because most people are going to order vanilla
Sure.
because it satisfies everyone.
Yeah.
Well, when you're trying to make an MMO that appeals to the broadest possible audience, you're going to make it vanilla. In other words, you're
Right.
going to try to go through a checklist of
Yeah.
features and say, okay, we got this, we got this, we got
Right.
this. But then that's not a game. That's a checklist.
Right.
And so what happens is that the whole notion of a game and a vision and all that stuff gets lost.
Right.
And I feel that I've seen this in a number of games that were MMO adjacent or MMOs where, yeah, there was just no heart to it. No, there was nothing distinct or unique. Its gameplay blended in with any number of other games. And so therefore it didn't stand out. It wasn't a success. So the publishers are like, we can't build MMOs. But really the lesson they should have learned is don't spend more than $100 million on a game and have realistic budgets, realistic expectations for profit returns instead of being like, well, it's got to make us 10x in this amount of time. You know, little old Cryptic, dopey old Cryptic, founded in 2000, continues to this day. Every one of my MMOs is still live today, including City of Heroes. So clearly there's an audience for it. It's just that the major publishers, and for that matter, major investors, really aimed in a different direction. They missed for very, very obvious reasons in my mind. But instead of recalibrating, they've just abandoned it altogether, which, to be frank, is great for me. What's my competition? Because I guarantee you I'm not done, gang. I've still got a few more MMOs left in me. So
it's funny you use the ice cream reference, and the reason why I immediately said mint chocolate chip is because I've used a similar reference. I use an ice cream reference all the time, an ice cream analogy all the time. But yes, you're right, absolutely. You know, chocolate or vanilla, it's like you're catering to the masses. And that's one of the issues that I've talked to my chat about when it comes to MMOs, where it's like I feel like MMOs it's such a hard genre to quote unquote figure out. Because, and I like, for example, the Riot MMO, no matter how good it is, it's going to disappoint a lot of people because, hey, if I want a sandbox PvP game and that game comes out more traditional theme park dungeon raid focus, as a sandbox PvP guy, you're going to be disappointed. You know what I mean? Or vice versa. It's like,
but it's the same way with it's the same thing with Star Trek is going to be for everybody, or Neverwinter's not going to. That's
Right.
the nature of games. The question is, does it have an audience, and can that audience sustain a profitable business model? That's it. And everything else is irrelevant, like, at least in my mind. But it's gotten so complex. Then I should also note that there are challenges in the game industry as a whole. And that has to do with the way that game development has been structured over the years and the enormous infrastructure that exists of costs that get added onto games that have nothing to do with game development. I mean, I could go on and on and on about this, but
I wish I could too.
Rest assured, you know,
Yeah.
that's at least that's my 2 cents on the whole thing.
I would agree with, you know, currently in the West, things are looking grim, and you're seeing a lot of Western MMOs, indie MMOs come up, and Western MMOs go like the old school route where it's like, you know, trying to be like EverQuest again or trying to refuel that. Meanwhile, a lot of us are kind of just wanting a 2026 sexy, modern Western MMO. And it seems like most of those are coming out from the East. But the problem with the East is, in the eyes of a lot of people, is the monetization, which is something I would like to actually ask you guys about. One point of criticism that I see being defended and, you know, pursued against is the monetization. I don't know what it's like in Star Trek, but when it comes to the monetization in Neverwinter, I hear a lot of criticism. A lot of people defending it. A lot of people saying it's the reason why it you know, it's not the game is not super big. What are you like? What's the situation here? Like, what's been going on with the monetization for people that are listening and have no idea what it is with Neverwinter?
So Neverwinter is a pure free-to-play game. You don't need to spend anything. That's just the reality. In general, spending money gets you things quicker that would take a long time to grind for. That was the entire purpose in the beginning. When we designed the game as free to play, because subscription models nobody wanted anymore. They just weren't sustainable. So in order to make an MMO, got to come up with a business model that works, right? You got to pay the bills. And when we initially designed it, it was like, look, it's either pay or play. You can get to the same place, but at different times, but one way or the other, right? Or some combination thereof. And that was kind of what our goal was, in addition to things like cosmetics. And so we had mechanisms for you to be able to earn microtransaction money in game in all of our products, all three.
So you can earn the cash out currency by playing the game as well, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, you would then sell it you would earn another currency that you would then sell, and then other people would purchase it. But I completely agree with everyone who said that definitely the economies of all of our games have changed over time because the personnel at Cryptic changed, and some of them had different visions or ideas or directions. But I can tell your audience right now, where I want to be is pay or play. Like,
okay,
if you wanna be in the game and play a ton, awesome. Like, knock yourselves out. I want you. That is a necessary ingredient. When we first designed the game, we depended upon some people grinding like hell to sell their excess currency for microtransaction money. That was expressly the point. And obviously things have changed over the years, but that's an area that we're all going to look at.
So can a free-to-play player catch a quote-unquote pay-to-win player, someone that's spending money on the game? Will they?
Oh yeah, it just takes time.
Right. So because like a lot of games,
going to take time.
So if I were to use Lost Ark as an example, what happens with some of these Asian games is like you've got a cap. Let's just call that cap 1,000 power, right? Item level. Yep. You can get there day one as a paid player. As a free player, it'll take you, let's just say, 3 months. But by the time 2.5 months passes, that cap has now gone up again. So a free-to-play player can never realistically hit that cap. Is that not the case with Neverwinter? A free-to-play player will catch up to someone that pays?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case now, but I'd have to sit down and work the math.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Honestly, like, I'm pretty sure going to the auction house, you can get everything you need in both our games pretty darn quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
But certainly that would not be my intent. Now, I would argue that the person who pays might have bells and whistles that aren't necessary but are nice.
Right.
So
cosmetics, things like cosmetics and stuff.
Cosmetics are like the ability to teleport from point A to point B quickly. Like,
okay.
That to me is a convenience, or bigger inventory, or whatever.
Right.
But the basic idea is that, yes, one way or the other, you should be able to grind. Now, how that levels up in the example you just gave, I got to be honest, I need to sit down and work some math, whether that's true or not.
When it comes to the cosmetics, I've spoken with Ghostcrawler and other game directors, and they've told us that monetizing an MMO strictly based off of cosmetics is sustainable. Would you agree with that, or is that not really the case?
I'm sorry, is or isn't sustainable?
Is sustainable without monetizing power.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Okay, so you don't.
What MMO are they on? There's no MMO in the world that's been able to sustain like that. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so
it's just the only way to sustain that. I should is if your player base is so beyond massive that it doesn't matter. So Fortnite being a good example. There's so many players in Fortnite.
Right.
The fact that a percent actually buy anything doesn't matter. But at least in all the MMOs I've worked on, and I've worked on quite a few, not only the ones I've created, but I also oversaw other MMOs. Cosmetics make up a very small percentage of sales. Very small.
What percentage would you say that is?
Of overall sales?
Yeah.
Less than 10.
Less than 10%. So it would require an enormous amount of people playing the game for that. And you do mean free-to-play MMOs, right? Because obviously if there's a box price to the MMO, then that would
Yeah. We're talking, but even that case, even in the case of a box price, you see games that MMOs that have launched, but they do more than just even afterwards, they'll do more than just cosmetics.
Sure, like maybe expansions or DLCs and things like that. The last point that I'd like to touch on with monetization is I heard some of the more experienced players kind of tell me this shared narrative, which was the game's monetization was a lot more aggressive to the point where a lot of people felt it was predatory. And then over the years, more recent years, that has been alleviated significantly to the point where free-to-play players won't have any issues playing, won't have any issues catching up and being at the same power. Obviously, they have to play for it, and it's a lot, quote-unquote, better, to the point where some people are even saying it's not pay to win. This is not my opinion. This is just the narrative that I've been hearing from experienced players. Is that, would you guys agree with that? And is that something that maybe you can shed some light on? Is that something that that you guys can maybe confirm, or maybe if you'd like to, maybe there was at some point you guys are thinking, okay, maybe we do need to dial it back on the monetization here, and were those adjustments ever made, or is that just
well, I think I could speak for Star Trek, and then I don't think anything's changed there.
With Star Trek, yeah, okay.
Star Trek, nothing has changed. With
I don't know what the popular opinion is on Star Trek. Sorry, I apologize. Yeah.
I think with Neverwinter, definitely some systems were changed for ease of use. For example, how to level up equipment and this type of equipment, but nothing changed in the cash shop. Nothing changed. Okay. We didn't change anything we sold. It was more we still have lock boxes, we still have mounts, we still have, I'm not aware. That isn't to say that I don't know. Randy, I'm sort of at a loss, so I don't know.
Yeah. It hasn't changed that much. I think the main thing is kind of like what Jack was mentioning. It's a lot of it was streamlined, and because it was streamlined, there was a lot fewer levels of I have to level this up, then I have to level this up,
but it's still the same amount to get there. It's just,
but it's still the same amount.
Yeah,
it's just simplified, so it's easier. So
I don't I don't know. Maybe it's so. I certainly am not aware of anything that was purposely done. But then again, I just started in January. But I can tell you, I'm not purposely trying to do anything. Certainly, it's no secret that what the Cryptic games have experienced over the past several years. So I don't know what was done or not done to create that feeling.
Right.
So,
right. Cool. Awesome. I appreciate you guys being very open, honest, and transparent about the monetization there. I would like to sorry, if there's anything else you wanted to.
No. Oh, I was just going to add one thing, at least to the players, that at the end of the day, nobody in any MMO, and here I think I can speak very generally, nobody's in this to rake in a ton of cash. But at the same time, we can't improve the game unless we grow the game. It's really simple. Unless we make more money, we don't have more money to make more stuff. And so it's always going to be a situation, a careful balance between providing the best possible experience to people who don't pay, but also making sure you have money so that, hey, maybe you can do something really cool that above and beyond just the normal content. Or heaven forbid, making a new game. So that's one element which I hope players understand.
Is there a new game that you guys are planning on developing, or as far as MMOs go?
Oh, I have them in my head. They are ready to go, baby.
Really? So there is a chance that Cryptic Studios may be announcing in the future a brand new MMORPG IP.
I can't promise anything, but certainly that would be my hope.
Okay.
And I will work like hell to make it happen in any way that I can. But I didn't come back to sunset the company. Right. I came back 26 years. It's been going. I'm trying to get it ready for the next 26.
Gotcha. So right now, as far as any new MMO goes, it's just ideas in your head that may or may not
Yes.
Come to it,
Well,
okay.
that's all I can say right now.
It's
Yes.
right now. Okay, cool. So what is this new game title? I was just kidding. Okay, so new players.
I will tell you.
Yes.
I have 3 ideas. 3.
Okay.
That I really want to do.
Okay. Is any of them fantasy? Like I'm a big fantasy guy. I'm not, like I said, I'm not. I apologize. I'm just not a sci-fi guy. Sci-fi's amazing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. One of them is completely fantasy.
Okay, that's great.
And if you do research on me, you might be able to figure it out.
Really? Okay, so I think that was a nice little nugget for those of you guys watching at home. Do your research and let me know in the comments, please. I've seen some interviews and some people asking you about fresh start servers. Okay, I love fresh start servers for older games, because as an MMO guy, like, I understand the downsides obviously for a fresh start server and the risks. The thought of diving into an MMO that's 10 years old, it's kind of daunting. Like, I got to learn the game. Everyone's ahead, right? A fresh start server has always been very exciting for me, and I've mentioned this a lot of times on my stream. I said, dude, if Neverwinter ever had a fresh start server, I would go so hard, and a lot of my community members would dive in too. Obviously, like,
fascinating idea. It's never even occurred to me. Has it occurred to you, Randy, or you, Thomas? I've never even thought of it.
I almost actually really like that. So is there any confirmed plans or anything that you could say officially, like maybe a timeline?
What an idea. I'm gonna write that down.
Okay.
I mean, let me tell you, I am completely blindsided.
So I guess that's all we're gonna get with fresh start.
That's all you're gonna get from me today. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is Star Trek also a game, like, when we are talking about, like, okay, last thing on fresh start servers, like we were talking about more Neverwinter, is that something that would also be potentially considered for, like, for Star Trek? I don't even know if it's necessary for a game, like, for example, like Guild Wars 2 would never need a fresh start. Like, this is a horizontal game, right? Versus a game like Lost Ark or Fresh Start it's completely vertical. What's it like? What's the progression system like there with Star Trek? Like, would there ever be like a new server? Would that even make sense with Star Trek? I'm not really sure.
It's not something that that we're thinking about right now for Stowe. I mean, I think we have a lot of different with the sort of amusement park analogy, right? It's really easy to make a new character that is dialed into the kind of content you want to play from the very beginning. And I think probably what makes sense for us on Star Trek is to keep doing stuff like that. If we want to make a new experience, we could make a new starting experience built around a some sort of gameplay element, or a new, based on a TV show or something. So I don't think we would necessarily have to restart the whole game, because a lot of it is about all those different theme park rides that people can already. I mean, Stowe is also a very solo friendly game. It's very easy for you to, I mean, most of our content is instanced. We do have raids, but they're like pretty small, five person raids. And so in terms of just sort of playing your adventure, it's really easy to just kind of lock in and do that by yourself if you want. But you can also team up with other people if you want to bring them along and everything. So that's not, I don't really see that as a priority for us. But there could be, a new type of content or a new type of gameplay or something in the future that, would mean making a new starting experience for a new type of character someday or something like that.
Gotcha. Cool. So I just have a few more questions here and we can wrap things up. Going back to Neverwinter here, when I played Neverwinter, one of the things that I really enjoyed was actually the instance PvP. We did some of the PvP arenas and stuff. Unfortunately, the PvP felt very dead. Not many people playing it. The combat in Neverwinter really stood out to me. Like, I had so much fun doing the PvP. Is that something that's being worked on? Is that going to be something that gets focused on? Because the general consensus as far as your community goes that has come to Twitch, everyone says, the PvE is great, PvE is fun, PvP is fun, PvP is great, but PvP is dead. It's a PvE game. That's just been the general consensus that I've heard through my chat. Is there do you guys have any plans for PvP?
Well, when we always look at PvP, we look at how many people are playing PvP on a regular basis. All right, and in Neverwinter, it's a smaller percentage compared to.
Isn't that like every MMO? I've heard like 10% ish.
Pretty much
across every.
It's about 10%, And when it comes to developing new content, we really got to focus on what are the most people are
Sure.
going to get out of it, right?
Sure.
That doesn't say that we have done PvP updates over the years, but they've been really kind of small and focused, right,
Gotcha.
on things. Not saying we won't ever work on PvP stuff again, but
Right.
we also have a lot of other stuff that we want to concentrate on to streamline the systems and everything, and then we can do it revisit. Like
Right.
one thing that's nice about PvP in general is that it is, once you've got a good framework in place, it's players just get together and play it and have fun,
Yeah.
right?
It really
You
is
don't
on the
necessarily have to
players to
create new
queue.
content.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And but part of that is it also requires constant rewards
Right.
for players to chase after,
Sure.
right? Because if they show off, how good they are, we also want to give them reward them for
Right.
doing that type of content. So so that's the trick, really, is just trying to like focus on what where's that fit on our overall schedule in terms of when we're going to do our next PvP update. So
Gotcha.
so yeah.
Cool. Another question in terms of when it comes to content with Neverwinter, I don't know what this is, but my chat's been asking me to ask you guys about the Foundry, which they told me it was a system that allowed players to kind of design their own dungeons. And I heard that there were some really, I mean, Dungeons and Dragons just really insane dungeons, but I heard it got abused in a way where people were just farming the same thing for infinite whatever. Can you tell us about that? Yeah.
The majority of the content was not very good because
okay,
people aren't. So it was a very few number of people who were capable of creating things, and there were very few number of people playing that content.
Sure.
Mostly the content was being played in order to get rewards to progress rapidly. Now, this is one of those systems that would be great to take a look at to see what, if anything, we could resurrect. That and PvP fall into that category of, hey, some stuff has kind of fallen by the wayside over the years. But that's the reason why it was initially taken out. But the Neverwinter IP itself stood for creating stuff, Neverwinter Nights. So it is something that we talk about, and is something that we probably will talk about for the longer term, but nothing immediate will be done.
Gotcha. Another common question I've been seeing is crossplay.
Yeah, let's just say that's probably more a matter of time than anything else.
Gotcha. So you do have, what is the current situation right now? It's just PC, right? PC and console, I believe, and they're separated, right? I think
separated.
Okay, so you guys would like to eventually combine that, but it's going to take time.
Absolutely.
Right. So a little side question here, because I know ESO has been wanting to, they pretty much said the same thing, which was like, we will, but it takes a while. And obviously there's other like priorities and whatnot. Is it very difficult to like implement crossplay? Is that something that's very difficult? Like, what are the challenges there? Because it sounds like it's very difficult from what I'm hearing other companies talk about. Yeah, we want to do it, but it takes time.
There's a lot of technical considerations when it comes to it. Like, and we go through a whole, used to like a whole certification system, but every time that you push new updates, you have to get certified through PlayStation, Xbox, and PC is the simplest, right? That's why you usually did PC updates first, and then the other updates came later because of that whole approval system in place.
So all updates for PC would be delayed to match with the console dates, which would leave a gap in our schedule for a period of time. But then there's, shifting characters over, the economies and how they mesh together, the auction houses, all of that. It's just a lot of individual questions you have to go through to really figure out the best way to mesh them. It's doable, just takes time.
Just takes time. Gotcha. Is there anything you guys would like to share or announce or say in regards to those games before we wrap up here?
Well, let me just say real quick for Star Trek, we're celebrating 60 years of the franchise this year. So we're doing a lot of really cool stuff. It's also 16 years, like I said before, of the game, right? So
that's amazing.
This game's been around for a while.
16 years for an MMO is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the great things is that Stowe is actually growing right now, like, which is pretty phenomenal. That more people are coming in to play every day, which is
Bigger
fantastic.
this year than last.
Yeah. And so,
That's awesome. Wow.
we've got a great year lined up for people who, if you're a fan of the shows and you're a fan of the uh we're doing this thing where, like, we're releasing a starship from, like, every era of the show for all 60 years of Star Trek over the course of the year. So we're celebrating that. We've got some amazing plans for later in the year for our big content story updates that I can't wait to share with players, that I think really celebrate the history of the game and the history of Star Trek. But if you don't care about any of that, I will say that Stowe is a very different MMO than I think a lot of MMOs you played because of that space combat. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you love big spaceships, if you love watching them blow up, yeah, give Stowe a shot. Check it out.
Yeah, what I do know is there's a very big audience for that, for the sci-fi stuff for sure. So awesome. Anything that you'd like to add there?
No, that's, I think I said my piece.
Sorry,
for Star
sorry,
Trek.
I meant Randy. It looked like Randy was about to.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Randy.
Sorry.
Yeah. We got a lot of exciting new content coming up. There's a lot of great stories we want to tell. We want to really kind of expand upon some of the epic level content we're doing. And we always want to add more new monsters, more new threats to face. That's what's nice thing about the Forgotten Realms. There's very expansive in terms of what we can deal with. Nice about D&D. It's nice about the fantasy genre, right? There's always more that we can add there. So, yeah.
Awesome, Mr. Jack.
Yeah, and from my perspective, this is just the beginning. One thing that everybody on this stream should know is, the three guys on here, we play the games. We're fans of our own product, and we love them. And so we're looking at not only from the point of view of devs, not from the point of view of the business, from the point of view of gamers. And I want to grow these games. I have no interest in sunsetting them. I want to increase the size of the teams. I want to add new features. I want to bring back old ones. So I'm already plotting what's next year. What can we really do to break these games out? So the best is yet to come.
Well, that sounds exciting. As someone that has recently played your game, Neverwinter, for the first time this year, I was certainly pleasantly surprised, and it was one of my higher rated games. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing seeing what you guys have in store, and I will definitely be checking out Star Trek for the first time, and I guess I'll let you guys know. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I try to keep this at about an hour. We went a little bit over. Hope that's okay.
Totally fine.
Perfect. I really do appreciate you guys for making the time and joining me here for this. Thank you guys.
Our pleasure.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, guys. If you guys would like to check out the game, check the link in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube, I will have links to both of the games in the description. Like and subscribe, and let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. See you guys next time.